Waiting to eat angel food, I stumble onto amphifugal lymphocanosis, our future supply of living water. The manna was something I dreamed last night. I couldn't tell if it was in our bloodstream or if we actually needed it. Somehow I was dreaming, I think about how we're going to be fed every his word, the bread of life. I know what thought was the manna was not all water, it was not all white. I looked up Psalm 78:29. I wrote down, does a thermostat really measure the temperature or does it balance a drop of mercury so that it flips a switch, as RJ would remind you? It's there to flip a switch. I would try to extrapolate it to punch cards from IBM helping the Nazis because the United States and Henry Ford in particular was popularizing the protocols of Zion. Whether they're true or not, I've never read them. But they convinced the Nazis that eugenics was good. They built Ford factories, Chrysler, General Motors. I thought I had made a mistake. I thought it could have been a mistake when I started this ministry long ago, and I was calling the rock body parts nephorensics after the Nephilim, because in my mind, the giants, the titans were Nephilim. They were what the Bible called gigantic. They were taller than most. And many of them, I guess we could call them Titan because the few of the other nations were worshiping other Elohim as we know now. So it is the study of nephorensics. I started out by doing an autopsy on a trilobite and proved it was the midbrain of a human that would have had to have been 30 foot tall, maybe bigger. That's the way it goes. I think I'm going to keep that name nephorensics. I had a busy time doing the research. I just want to share. That's all I've ever done since I had that whole second vision. Go and do this. Okay, okay. I have to show the thing now. I never used to have to do that, but it doesn't take long to go, hey, there's the thing. I'm in a habit, a pattern of showing the pictures I downloaded so you can get an idea of what I've been studying. Unseen Tibet. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it looks like Chaco Canyon, so I haven't seen it in Tibet, but I look at that way they got to get the water out of there now. This though it's on the side of a cliff, and if it wasn't painted, it would blend right in. Were they hiding like in Cappadocia, begging the mountains when they were going to melt like wax? Cover us, hide us from the wrath that is coming, that was promised to a particularly wretched and vile generation, hallmarked by capping off their cornerstone achievement, was deciding, like, hey, I think I'll choose Barabbas. Let's change our mind and vote for Barabbas. Okay. Star for it, baby. Who's ever heard me say that? Mentally raise your hand. Somebody from another video, I'm not sure which one it is. We could look up what time I was watching it, but I don't know if that's even got it. But somebody else mentioned the glittering sword, the mega lightning, when they were trying to decide what would happen. This might have been on Maybe Conspiracy RS put out a new video. Oop, turtles all the way down. Anybody? Well, not really turtles all the way down. In sacred places the gods said would be safe during the apocalypse. Whew, where I live made it. Man, what a surprise. I'm shocked. Anyway, they believe some pretty crazy things, huh? Look how close the sun is to the mountain. And when you live on a valley like I do, that's a high plateau desert, sometimes it feels like the sun, it's like, oh my goodness, I know this light is supposed to be good for me, but ugh. But other times it's like, where's the sun? How do you somebody go and help glyphosate? This is from yesterday. He's gonna he's gonna Donald Trump had an executive order spurring the domestic production of glyphosate, and Bobby Kennedy said, "That's cool. Hey, that's cool. Let's go eat at McDonald's again because you made me." Here's another one. He was going to seed right outside there at that vast New Mexico ranch. He was going to seed him with DNA in 2019. Everybody knew it. This is actually a pretty good video. A lot of info. Transhuman, modern day version of eugenics. Same version. Man, I had to hit the cough button there. Same controlled breeding, race. They had it figured out with their MK Ultra and everything they studied during the war about the brainwashing. Thanks, Edvard Bernays and all you guys, Buckminster Fullers. Yeah, there were a lot of them. But they were all into transhumanism, wanting to make the human population through technologies like genetic engineering. That's undeniable fact. And Mother Jones, I know they're commies. They're so bad. And so many of them are so pro abortion. But that doesn't mean they're stupid about everything. They don't know what they're doing, or they do. I think they don't. So they called them up. They got some confessions. Hey, we're going to be studying the Panama Papers. Have you heard about the Panama Papers? Possibly. I hope I'm sharing the screen. I'll look you in the eye for this one. The Panama Papers might be the reason, one of the other reasons they did the COVID. That came out about how much we're suckers and they're offshoring all the money to hide it. Now we know it. They hide it and they save that big money because they have expensive tasted beef jerky, $1,000 bottles of wine and grape soda. They're cooking and eating people, man. And they're offshoring it. It was the Panama Papers. We'll have to get to it. It's like, I need a way to park it. This is supposed to be a computer version of a real guy. Here's your old model, new model. 5-phase cybernetic loop. The old model was debate and present evidence. The goal was to change minds. The outcome was intellectual agreement. So allegedly, since Satan's been loose, there's identity signaling, engineer belonging. The goal is to like, whoa, wait a minute, you like punk rock and the Packers? You're my soulmate. I could be socially compliant with you. We could pick a favorite song and say, that's our song. In South Iraq, near the modern town of Nasiriyah, a 4,000-year-old flume structure has been discovered. There it is. I see it. That's what somebody said when they discovered it. It was those Sumerians, those guys that were good with the gold. Man, they were good with the gold. Minstrel wind, I didn't look it up. There was too many winds and vortexes in this video already. I hope you're buckled in. I don't know. RGAETA 879. Do you feel like your house was a tent of David when you were heading it with God, trying to love him with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength? I guess in a sense it is a spiritual house. I didn't look up that yet because that's a very long answer. I like to give you a lot of time because you got that awesome looking dog there that reminds me of a dog named Festus I know. But I don't know, that's a hard one because usually I'm like thinking like how long I'm gonna have to wait before it, whether it always comes true. It's but like it never. It's always like this one time for you know to be where we're at today. I had to wait 15 years. You'll know in 15 years, and it's like tell a 40-year-old that you're going like have one foot in the grave. I'll be 55 years old. Little did I know at 40, I was pushing, already 240 pounds, going up to 280 after a very bad accident. Little did I know I'd settle in at 150, I'd keep off 100 pounds for 13 years now, because I sweating, stretching, and eating organic. You don't have any idea. It's just like most of the time is waiting. And like Ezekiel, I would say, and stinking. I mean, imagine he's cooking his food on cow's dung, and you're just busy doing all these things. It's no time to think about how do I feel. So that was all the pictures. Now I'm going to run down what I got here. He spoke through me. He spoke by me. Wait, he'll give them into my hand? This is one of those Bible verses that I want to leave you scratching your head. But then hopefully, we'll work it out. Look at my hand, it's in my hand. Deliver you up into my hand. Well, that's why does sometimes they translate it here? I'm looking there, it's out of your hand. The kingdom was torn. Okay. Is it a real? Let's look at that verse. The Lord has done to you as he spoke by me, for the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor. Huh. Amalek. Okay, so he's torn it. This is what Jesus, Yahweh, did himself, gave it to David, the neighbor. The particular word used 15 times from your hand. Okay, that's a hand. There was one here that struck me as a little bit different. I think I'm going to have to go to you're cut off from your hand, at thy hand to drink. This is kind of a lot of words, isn't it, for hand? I don't see the strong root word. I was wondering, is this a catch-all or what? The hand. Let's look up this one. Out of our hands. Okay. we're going to take our time on this one because it's not what I was thinking. My sister's hands in the these are the hands of Esau, easily recognized by Isaac. Jacob, way to go, Jacob. Jacob was one of the small guys. He was not a Nephilim except mentally and spiritually, I would think. So let's look at this Berean standard. We'll pick it. We'll start at 15 through 20 and just see if we can glean anything. Then Samuel said to a very disturbed king, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" Saul goes right into it. Remember, these are real people, real king. I am deeply distressed. The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has turned away from me. He no longer answers me either by prophet or by dreams. So I have called on you to tell me what to do. Why do you consult me? Asked Samuel, since Jehovah, Yahweh, has turned away from you. Wow, and become your enemy, Saul. How the mighty have fallen. 17. He has done exactly what he spoke through Samuel. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his burning anger against Amalek. The Lord has done this to you today. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines and throw you and yours tomorrow, and you and your sons will be with me. That he was anointed, he was among the prophets. Departed you, the enemy. 101. This is not because there's a lot of times I think enemy is used in the Bible, an adversary from the word origin. Well, yeah, I could see that that is probably from that word. I have a lot to cover. I got to move on. Now, why is it saying it's a watcher, a guardian? That makes no sense because in Daniel 4, when our scripture is used correctly by looking at the scripture, the only time that the watchers should be referenced are in reference to Nebuchadnezzar and in this, right here. And they were always, these were watchers, a holy one. That word holy right there is not used lightly in the Old Testament or the New Testament. And so, I will take the time to show you that wherever watcher is used, the holy one, they're the good guys. It's like the Nephilim. They act like they're offspring of scripturally, not possible in my mind. Reproducing spirit beings that make demon clowns that get their butt kicked every time they fight the real Nephilim, the mighty men of Joseph and David. Daniel 4:13, the angelic watchers, the angelic watchers. This is a decision from the watchers. 3 occurrences. That's what you call the root word. It means there's more than one, but they're all equally in on being holy and powerful. So why is it like you're awake to rouse and to wakes, to stir up? Awake, O Deborah. Well, I hope we got something out of that because the whole deal is Samuel was coming up, and Elohim. The woman cried out, "My life is in your hands," you know. Uh, he found out, wait, you are Saul. What did she see? Let's see, because you did not obey the Lord. Shoot, and I just studied this. What do you see? I see an Elohim coming up out of the ground. This is a hard part. It's hard for me because this is, Samuel, but the witch saw him as an Elohim. Was it one of the other Elohim in the council lying to Saul? Uh, it doesn't seem like it. It seemed like they were addressing Saul. It's hard. So is this.
What are the factors? How is it that our society creates so many men who feel free to abuse children and then protect other men who do the same? I would argue the root of that is oppressive religions that are hyperfixated on the purity of women, also the subjugation of women, the hypersexual.
And this is coming from a former girl that was in my church, the PCA, Presbyterian Church in America. What do you mean? This is the straight up feminist thing. Hey, did have you ever read Ezekiel 23? I'm gonna jump over there. I'm gonna duplicate this. Boom pow. I'm almost right there. So that's an Old Testament book. Chapter 23. I'm gonna hit it. Ahola and Aholabah, that was called Samaria and Jerusalem. Aholabah played the whore. She lusted after her lovers in the Assyrians. The men are usually blamed when they watch the women go, whether it's a shiny apple where they're promised wisdom, or whether they see some guy dressed in purple and they want to, you know what they, hey, you want to uncover my nakedness? They were doing it for free. There is this whole thing of men bad, women good. That is satanic. That is part of you. You're not panicking about the satanic enough. You don't understand how bad the Satan is. Samaria went bad. Lusted in her whoring. Guess what? Her sister went worse. Aholabah is Jerusalem. How long did Ezekiel lay on his side? Well, when they broke off from King David, Israel went bad. But Aholabah carried on their thing. You know what they wanted. They lusted after lovers. What do you think they mean by this? Whose members were like those at donkeys? The members of a church or something else? I wonder what they're talking about here. No, the women long for the lewdness of their youth. Let's don't. They're hey, those Egyptians were handling somebody pressing something, and somehow these women were going like, "Yeah, I haven't got enough." Until maybe they got a disease or something, but they end up always as they hate each other, but they drank the sister's cup, the Lord's people. Drink it and drain it. It's going to be bad. There was a divorce that went on. I don't know if you know about that, but hey, girl, you got to lighten up. What does this somehow set you free that you're not bad? You were subjected to hypersexualization. All women are because hey, these guys are in the church. They're wolves in sheep clothing. We're supposed to keep an eye out for a Miss Nose Ring.
Sexualization of children, the dehumanization of children, all of that is very much driven out of what we considered fringe religious ideology in the past, now mainstream, now running the United
So
States.
the Bible it used to be fringe, the family unit. The Bible's teaching that the man is the head, as Christ is the head. There are decisions to be made. It's the Father. I'm sorry if that's not modern enough for you, computer enhanced woman.
Now running the Heritage Foundation Project 2025 in the US government. LDS, Tradcaths, evangelical, and Reformed Christianity.
2% of the population. Not many of the Christians are charismatic. 2% are Mormon that are, in it for the Freemason perks or whatever, God, that. But what would possess a woman to say, like, I want to be one of 10 wives?
Identity replacement. Beliefs are propositions. They can be questioned. Identity is who you are. Questioning it feels like
Look at
self-destruction.
these computers.
Watch the transformation. I believe X, acclaim. I'm someone who understands X, identity linked. People.
So this guy thinks he, claims to be a human. There isn't anything here where it says it is computer, but it sure sounds like it, doesn't it? Aren't they supposed to release something? Emotional states. Seems like computer stuff.
In control. The most elegant part, the system gradually withdraws, because by now you're doing the work yourself. External enforcement becomes internal. You police your own thoughts. You imagine what the group would think. You preemptively self-correct. You punish your own doubt. The surveillance is inside you now. The system doesn't need to watch anymore. And here's the final cruelty. Each phase disabled the tool you'd need to resist the next one. Destabilization. Killed your epistemic.
So who did it? Who were these guys? What was going on? What was I studying? The Venturi started with the partial flume. It's very interesting to me how recent everything was. So they say they invented this. Constriction of water. It's simply a modified version of the Venturi flume. Flow rates. Beginning in 1915, Ralph started doing some experiments and everything just flowed. It was a reset. This is becoming to me kind of obvious that World War I, it was like a reset inside a reset that, or it was the Armageddon leftovers that the mafias of the world are now covering up and dealing with it with a Satan in charge of this world. He's been set free. He's building nations, United Nations, leagues of nations, peace nation coalitions. I can move kind of through these kind of quicker because, the Venturi flume was brought up, the Venturi effect. It's the conscription first developed in Fort Collins, Colorado. That seems hard to believe. It's going to be hard for you to believe when you see that, these pressure things have been around. People have understood it for a long time. But they didn't tell you about it. And so These are all part of the cover-ups. Now there's kinetic energy, Bernoulli's principle, static press, mass continuity. Everybody's on board using the same thing. But what about this? I mean, that's uses, this could have been something that, maybe Jacob or Abraham, when they were arguing about who really dug the well, and Isaac going like, my dad dug this well. They were used in the Venturi. That definitely looks like they're constricting water and then opening it back up because that's what they're doing. And everybody knows that this guy did it. He said, I can do it. The man who built the temple brings the water. Whoa. Thunderbird. That was interesting. A clay nail. Bricks on bricks. And these bricks are different. They're really focused on pinning them down in this type of situation, aren't they? You can see that? I don't know what that. I don't got nothing on these. A couple more I wanted you to see though. Feathered figure. They were into preserving it. He certainly looks humble. That's a brick. Talking, so they would. I think I see straw in that one, but they had it figured out long ago. Did you know that there was a war to put Mary, the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe, in between World War I and World War II? There was the Cristero War, Cristero Rebellion, widespread struggle in central and western Mexico that lasted darn near 3 years in response to the implementation of secularist and anti-clerical articles of the 1917 Constitution of Mexico. The rebellion was instigated at the response of a president saying, no, 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 we need, well, this is the guy here that did it, reform it, bring back the Catholic Church, where he was going to enforce restrictions. He sought to limit the power of the Catholic Church, and the people in Mexico said, no way. So they worked him back up into a frenzy, got their own armies of, send your son to war, because the mommies said, you can't expect us to not worship the Virgin Mary. And the church, stopped killing them for a while and said, no, yeah, we're going to help everybody who loves the Virgin Mary. And it's everywhere. It's the remnants of this are with us to today. Militant Catholicism. That's why almost everybody you saw in the shower room when you were in sports, they're circumcised. I don't know how you girls could tell. You usually got adopted if they were not circumcised. Maybe. They want to fight, man. They want to protect the Virgin Mary. That looks like a uniform in the pulpit to me, but they did it. And they used mass hypnosis, children seeing the Virgin Mary. Throw your crutches away and pick up a rifle. You've been healed by Mary. They had a whole war, and it was not only in Mexico, it went a lot of different places because it was really a function of these guys. And they weren't only in Mexico, but they were always behind it saying, now we love you, now we help you. The guy we're against, propping him up, he was called the Mason, but it turned out he wasn't. Maybe. Large scale military assaults. questioning the morality of a war that could not be won. So, Alberto Maria Carrano, close with the Archbishops of Mexico, said, look, why can't we just embrace that a lot of people will be, we can control them. Donovan came up again last night. The Rainbow Division, number 42. Isn't that the Hitchhiker's Secret to the Universe? Did you know that these guys that started I'm not saying the offshore accounts, but definitely, Pershing chasing Mexicans over the border, Colombia, Phi Beta Kappa, worked his way up by marrying a rich Catholic girl because, woo-hoo, I guess he couldn't do without her. But this guy formed the CIA, well, the OSS, and then the CIA. Wild Bill, militant Roman Catholic, and I'm connecting him with all of that, propping them up. Roman Catholics at right when they needed it, and they were propping up Hitler. Somewhere. I know Ford was, all of the big motors, all of the bankers. These were the guys established in 1930. It's one of the oldest international financial institutions ever. It was created so that, people could still argue about, did they do it on purpose? Did we decide the right form for ourselves? Why were they all spying? Why did nobody ever go to jail? Of course, they're based in Mexico City, Switzerland, and Hong Kong. Rothschilds. It's these guys, man. The Hamburglar did it. That's early 1836. Am I sharing the screen? Looks like it. That's good. So, look who's not in it. They're in the red. Looks like the people today, Russia and China and, what is that, far Western Asia? Turkey. Where the Bible was. Those churches in Asia. Yeah. Hey, Honky, did you do it? Did you do it? You? How about you? You don't throw your gang signs at me. I'll. Ooh.
Some people, but Palmer emphasizes that other people with the condition may not see any improvement with the keto diet. This is a world of difference. Curing schizophrenia would be fucking groundbreaking for people that face it. And I think most of you know schizophrenia, it'll destroy your life. I mean, sometimes end up of what this lunatic says. How do you get in front of a group of people and say these things? And I'll get into the details in a second. But let's talk about that first sentence. Dr. Pollen up at Harvard has cured schizophrenia with keto diet. Let's take each portion of this sentence and look at.
Wow. Hey, I wanted to introduce you to this family based on everything we've talked about, what we're going to be talking about, the Sassoons. Whoever knew they were so rich? The Rothschilds of India. Let's scroll through their house. That's their Bund. This guy. They're Jewish people. We're tending to be, hey, look at me. And somehow they took over 70% of the opium trade. Yeah, these guys did it. That's a very expensive guy to hire to do a painting for you in 1923. He's famous. He did some of those really crazy paintings that got real famous. Look at that. Oh, man. I know he didn't do Whistler's Mother, but he was famous. So these guys, they're on my radar. They were put on my radar. The Paradise Papers, are they remnants of that? The Paradise Papers are Anonymous Reddit user hinted at the existence of Paradise Papers, Panama Papers, offshore banking accounts. 2017, around in that time, 13 million confidential electronic documents. And this, it wasn't even Snowden, WikiLeaks. No, this was other investigative reportings that came out. It's like, oh my goodness. So don't confuse the Panama Papers and this scandal. It's not the same thing. This one is only 11.5 million leaked documents, terabytes, published, right around the time they started gearing up for a really stupid fake election. Here, let's introduce them to Comet Pizza, like we introduced them to Flat Earth, and then pull the rug out and say, that was nothing to see here, you morons. Offshore magic circle of banking. Those Sassoons I showed you, they're the ones that started that bank in the Cayman Islands. I know a lot of you have heard of the Cayman Islands, but they did it on purpose. Offshore banking, and it looks like so they could buy $1,000 wine, $1,000 grape juice, and jerkies. They're sickos, man. If you're in with them, you're paradise. It's a way to get around paying their taxes so that they can laugh at us. They drink what they think is pure water and they dirty your water. And they couldn't have done it without an internet, cyber attacks, your silver, your credit card, all tied up and relying on 5G, 6G, or whatever they have. Otherwise, man, you're back to being a number to them. They're on my radar. This is on my radar. I saw a computer try to say all arches are 37.5, which is, one of those magic numbers, but they're not. Obviously, these arches are amazing, but they're not all the same angle. But they are amazing. There's the dynamics of a rib vault with outward and downward pressure from the ribs balanced by columns and buttresses. The pieces can stand by themselves without mortar holding them together. That's good. So, but there are a lot of repeating themes in how they did the arches. So maybe that 137.5, I don't know, flying lions. One was the head of a beast, the other was a man, the other was the golden age is going to be represented. We know that these Starfort babies were rebuilt. They had that sound and resonance and the Panama. Oh, no, they didn't have those papers yet. But they call it flamboyant. Gothic architecture is flamboyant. Some are more flamboyant than others. I think we're looking at a hyper flamboyant. I don't know. You recognize any of those angles? I kind of recognize almost all of them. Wow. That's top to bottom flying buttress. You can't even see it all because it's blocked. It's like it's in a alley or something. 98 pictures. We can't go through them all. So I'm going to close it, take this, scroll it down, and pick the pictures up right here. What's so fabulous about this one? Where's the flamboyancy? Oh, okay. All right. All right, that's a rock. They started out, God only wanted unhewn stones used for the temple. They got away from that pretty quick. That's a star vault. Anyway, we got these equilateral triangles, 60, 60, 60, That's supposed to be, everything's supposed to be built on that. Polyhedrons, deltahedrons, anti-prisms from a 60-60-60. Oh, and you could make those geodesic homes. Everything's divided by the square root of the hypotenuse. Isopermetric inequality for triangles. I won't have it. I'm not going to stand for it. These four-cornered, four-centered arches. Well, that's different. All right. Well, not all arches are going to, you know, you're going to mix in some regular and some flamboyant. But they had their go-tos, don't they? Didn't they? Hey, look, the God of Remfram was always going to be represented. Huh. So that golden angle again, always coming back to that 137.5 geometry, golden angle, golden ratio, the circle. Is it a 360? Do you have to do a 180? How come you want those 13 months so bad? 137? Oh, what about 137.5? Come on. That's a gold. Okay, so that brings up the golden angle. It brings up these videos. You guys gonna smoke a pipe, man. You gotta get them in the views. Anyway, let's close with a little bit of scripture here. Psalm 78. Man ate the bread of angels. He sent them food in abundance. They ate and were well filled, for he gave them what they craved. Uh-oh. While the food was still in their mouth, in spite of all this, they still sinned. Despite his wonders, they did not believe. Vanish. When he killed them, they sought him. They repented and sought God earnestly. They remembered that God was their rock, El Elyon, their redeemer. He's called you. You're chosen. Be faithful. He's your rock. Adam was the first man, was from the dust. The second man, our spirit God, represented and identifies as Father. He became Son from heaven, and by himself, of his own free will, he showed how a son serves the Father that he loves for a chance to, because it's not of him that willeth or run, but it's God that shows mercy. And if your heart is inclining you to not let go of the plow, to have a burden, but know it's light, to be yoked as a servant, to emulate the perfect son. And if you're a woman, look for a man that's emulating the perfect son, because it's our spirit, God, the divider of water and light, himself, that bled and died And there is no other way except through Jesus Christ. That's not fringe. That's what the Bible teaches. It also is heavily, heavily consistent and persistent in teaching it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. The mud flood was Armageddon. It more recently obvious that you have an orphan trained brain, same as do re mi. We've been fooled, we've been lied to. And if God had not opened our eyes through predestined election, calling, knowing you from before the foundation, but to us it seems like it would be smart for me, since I believe in my heart that Jesus rose from the dead and by his stripes we're healed, by his blood we're cleansed, I should confess it with my mouth. I invite you to do that today. If you haven't, call somebody. Let's open the door. Hey, you. I believe that Jesus Christ is God. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakamain. Adios, amigos. More fun every time I say it.